Directorate of Public Relations of the Australian Army presents War Correspondent. Your name is Mike McCann. You're a war correspondent. For the people of this atomic time who know that peace belongs only to the prepared, you tell these stories of the Australian Army on active service. Your name is Mike McCann, war correspondent.
I'm Mike McCann. In every war, there have been occasions when comedy has taken charge of even the most tense military situation. While drama, heroism, and tragedy are normally the lot of a soldier in action, there are frequently occasions when, as the old digger used to put it, you can't help laughing. Those are the times when incidents occur which are more suitable to comic opera than warfare. At the time, there might appear little cause for laughter, but in retrospect, the story of the action becomes a tale told only for laughs. You've heard diggers talking of some action that held a comical aspect. You've heard them say, she was as funny as a circus, a real pantomime, or Gilbert and Sullivan could have put it on the stage. Well, the Korean War was no exception. It had its humorous incidents, and the Australians who fought there found humor in the true digger tradition in the most unlikely places. Even while death stalked them, they took time out for laughs. Even while the air about them was alive with enemy fire, there were those who saw the joke, saw a phase of the action as a piece of keystone comedy that put tears of laughter in their eyes even as they raised their rifles to sight the enemy. There were phases of the early fighting in Korea that would probably have appealed to Gilbert and Sullivan. There were times when the comedy of it appealed to men of the 3rd Battalion Royal Australian Regiment as they chased the North Korean communists north in October 1950, the first phase of the Korean War. As one man, the members of the 3rd Battalion who had been serving in Japan volunteered for action in Korea after the communists overran South Korea. They expected fierce fighting, and they found it. But they didn't expect the incidents that verged on comic opera.
They pull some queer stunts on you in the army these days, don't they, Perce?
What's eating you now, Lenny?
Well, have a look at us here. Anybody'd reckon we're playing a scene from the Mikado.
Mikado? What are you nattering about?
Are you not a Gilbert and Sullivan fan, Perce?
Never heard of him.
You're just being stubborn again, old soldier. You've heard of the Mikado and the geisha girls and all that?
I've heard of the geisha girls.
Oh, you surprise me. Well, Gilbert and Sullivan were a couple of blokes who knocked together a bit of a musical comedy about Japan.
I couldn't care less. Japan's past history. Tomorrow it's Korea. Tell me about some characters writing something about Korea and I'm prepared to listen.
All right, sport, I give up. It just occurs to me that we're standing here on the deck of this Yank ship, waiting to pull out from Japan, and we're all under Japanese umbrellas because it's raining like stink. You get me? Jap umbrellas.
Oh, I don't get you. I think maybe you're gone a little soft in the skull.
Yeah, that strikes me too. A bloke would have to be soft in the skull to have a goat like you for a mate.
What's the matter with you, Lenny? You start nattering about the Mikado and those Jap geisha girls and the rest of it, and naturally a bloke just wonders if you're gone a bit soft in the skull. I mean, this time tomorrow we'll probably be stuck right into those communists over there in Korea. We might be dead. I mean, why go on with rubbish when we're about to go straight into action?
All right, I give up. My mistake. It's nothing like the Mikado. It's grim reality. Soldiers marching off to war.
Not marching, Lenny. We're aboard a ship.
Oh, that's right. I apologize. I was forgetting your poetic soul, Perce.
Oh, I can recite all right, but this isn't the time or place for it. We're off to war. This is the time for fighting.
Why
for
don't I
action.
get out the war drum, eh?
Okay, joke about it. See how funny it is this time tomorrow when you're getting your head shot off.
Hey, Perce, what was the date that day we sailed for Busan?
That joke's worn a bit thin, Lenny.
Not half as thin as the seat of my pants sitting around waiting for this action you were talking about. What was the date we sailed? September 27th, I seem to recall. And today, October 5th. That's what it is. And I'm still waiting to see this action you were so serious about.
All right, so we didn't get into action as soon as I expected, but it won't be long now.
I remember reading a book once about a German soldier called the Good Soldier Spike. And he went wandering off looking for the war. But he never seemed to be able to find it.
Ha, bloomin' ha.
He was like that Flying Dutchman, doomed forever to roam without reaching his destination. Now just have a look at what we've been doing.
If talking won medals, you'd have to draw a second chest from the Q store.
We have a nice sea trip from Japan to Busan, and the band plays us a couple of nice selections. A couple of cute Korean numbers present us with some bouquets. Then we take a nice quiet train trip up through that beautiful scenic Korea that's either frozen hills or paddy fields to Taegu, which is about as warlike as Melbourne on a Sunday. Then they drive us around the countryside, doing a bit of sightseeing, and now they bring us back to Taegu to take an air trip. The good old 3rd Battalion, by air, sea and land.
You'll get enough action before it's all over.
Oh, I'm not complaining, mate. Myself, I like travel. But the trouble is, you get me all keyed up with this talk about action.
It'll be on right enough this time. You heard Colonel Green telling the battalion that we're going to take the North Korean capital, Pyongyang. The Commos will really fight for that.
If we can catch up with them in
We'll
time.
catch up with them this time. That's why we're boarding these flying boxcars. They land us at Seoul, and we'll be right on the Commos hammer. I tell you fair dinkum, Lenny, we'll be into them any time now. Yeah, and you can take that silly-looking grin off your face. Come on, our platoon's moving across to the aircraft.
Perce, I don't really want to upset you, but do you reckon we're in the right country?
Sure, we're in the right country. This is Korea? Can't you smell it?
Oh, I get the smell all right. But where's this war you've been talking about?
Very witty.
Well, you know, the other day at Taegu Airstrip you were saying we'd be up to our ears in strife any time now. And that was 5 days ago.
Very funny indeed. You know as well as I do that we'll strike the Commos any time now. What do you think they've given us these Sherman tanks and Yank artillery for?
I was wondering about that. That US 8 cavalry is ahead of us somewhere with enough artillery, rockets and napalm to win this war before we get to it.
We could be in it any time, Lenny. Look at these mountains up here on each side of the track. Look at our convoy bumper to bumper along this narrow road. They could swoop down on us and bingo.
Yeah, that's right. Bingo. Just like we used to play at the Sunday school social nights. Only we called it housey-housey. Oh, but that was thrilling. Not like this peaceful globe-trotting.
You're just having me on. You expect me to bite. What about that Como attack this morning? What about that, eh?
Oh, yeah. Chills me blood to recall it. How many North Koreans were there again?
Well, only 3, but they wounded a couple of blokes in the mortar platoon.
Oh, it was rough while it lasted. One whole hand grenade thrown by a North Korean straggler. War is hell, Perce. War is rugged.
You just don't be too anxious. We could be right on action any moment now.
Set that to music and you've got a song as timeless as Home Sweet Home.
Hear that, Lenny? Fighting over there.
And just when we look like getting near it, they tell us to get down and walk. Chances are it'll all be over before we get there.
No, this is the real thing, all right, Lenny. Colonel Green told us the battalion is to cut the main road between the North Korean capital.
You know the date, Perce?
Of course I know it. October 17. So I was a few days out about when we'd go into real action.
Only just on a month.
Yeah, keep your eyes open now. Could be any moment. Any moment, mate.
Not by the look of this country. Flat, plain country. Not a sign of anybody. Anybody alive, anyway. The bombers and the jet fighters have been through here. All the Commos have taken off to the north, and now we just sit on a roadblock. Oh, hello, I'd say here comes bad news. Company Sergeant Major. Probably come to tell us peace has been declared.
Sight of the enemy yet?
They're very rare in this part, Sergeant Major.
We heard some firing a while back, Sergeant Major.
That was behind us.
What? We've gone past the war?
Well, sort of. Seems like there's a bit of a surmuzzle on. It seems that Major Ferguson was coming up the track south of us with rations, and he found he was in convoy with the North Korean army.
The 2IC.
Yeah, the 2IC. Major I.B. Ferguson, MC.
In a convoy.
That's what I'm telling you, fellas. Things are a little mixed at the moment. Trucks of Commonwealth troops and trucks of North Koreans have pulled up alongside each other on the road back to the south. The North Koreans apparently didn't know our troops were so far north.
I told you about this Korean doofus. I told you about it. Comic opera. That's what it is.
Don't know about that. They've been exchanging plenty of fire back there along the track, and you can expect to be exchanging plenty too. We've got communist troops to the north of us now, as well as commerce to the south. We're like the nut in the nutcracker.
There, Lenny. What did I tell you?
Well, we better get cracking. Eh, Sam Major?
Does he always make jokes like that?
Always, Sergeant Major. Real wit, my mate Lenny.
Could be. He'll find himself laughing his head off any time now. Like the Argyle CO, Colonel Nielsen. Down south of us when he took a recce party into Sarawak and bumped head-on into a truck full of North Koreans. The Argyles opened up, and so did the Commers. And there was the Argyle's colonel running between the two lines of fire. That's the kind of joke that's on any time now.
That's what I've been telling Purser, Major. Gilbert and Sullivan could have written a comic opera about it if they'd been here.
I tell you blokes something. If Gilbert and Sullivan were here, they'd have to pick up a Bren. Do you see what I see coming down the track?
Coming from the north.
North Koreans. Commos.
Take it easy now. Odds are they won't know United Nations troops this far north. Keep your weapons by your side, but handy. They're keeping on coming. They don't know who we are.
A whole truckload of them. Come on, you buttes. I'd given up hope of ever seeing you.
Listen. What are they shouting?
Ruski. That's what they're shouting.
Wouldn't it? They reckon we're Russians.
I tell you, you wouldn't read about it. Ripley wouldn't write it. Well, come on, we better disillusion them. I'm frightened they might be a mirage.
This was a strange, almost eerie time in the Korean War, when, most frequently at night, Allied troops and the enemy from time to time found themselves traveling north shoulder to shoulder. So rapid had been the northward advance by the United Nations forces that in places they'd leapfrogged beyond the retreating North Koreans. And so confused was the North Korean line of communications that reinforcements rushing south not infrequently came on Allied troops and mistook them for their own or their Russian allies, who, they'd been told by false propaganda, had come into the field to fight beside them. The Australians, like the Argyles and other units of the Commonwealth forces, had mostly given up their traditional headgear for American-style headwear, which was now often mistaken for Soviet headgear. This time of advance north in mid-October 1950 was a time of confusion for both sides, and in these circumstances Major I.B. Ferguson, later to command the 3rd Battalion, and at this time second in command, found himself by mistake in convoy with northbound North Koreans. And in other cases, truckloads of North Koreans and Allied troops sometimes parked wheel by wheel, without either being immediately aware of the nationality of the other. And so, in these bewildering circumstances, the Australians took up position across the road north of the North Korean capital of Pyongyang, while the Communists were reinforcing towns to the south.
Finally saw action, eh, Lenny?
Do you call that action? We fire a magazine and the truckload of them heads north for home. We don't have any fun.
I've got a feeling we're going to have some. And soon.
Somebody wrote a song about that once, Purse.
About what?
That old feeling.
You slay me.
It's about the only slang you'll see around here.
Looks like you could be wrong, Lenny.
Yes, hoping. Better get off the road and keep down. Here comes somebody on a motorbike. It's the Sergeant Major. Pull him up and get the drill. All quiet here, Sergeant Major.
Far from quiet up to the north, and she's far from quiet in the south. They're on either end of the battalion.
What about this North Korean capital we were going to take, Sergeant Major?
Into Pyongyang. and they're still staging to Sarawon, which we're supposed to occupy.
Well, who's got the town, Sergeant Major? The Keystone Cops?
Ah, the wit. Well, could be. The Argylls have put troops into Sarawon, and just over a half hour ago, just on dusk, about 2,000 communist troops moved into the city. They saw the Argyll caps and thought they'd come on the Red Army. Just like that truckload came on us this afternoon.
You'd have thought there'd have been awake up to that by now.
You'd reckon, but no. In come the comers shouting, "Ruski! Ruski!" And the Argylls keep their heads and make out they are comrades from the Kremlin. And there they are, all exchanging headgear, swapping cigarettes, and the North Koreans are singing and throwing kisses. And the Argylls are standing there grinning.
I'm beginning to think this is a pretty funny kind of war, Sergeant Major.
I mean, you're beginning to think, Perce.
Smart, Ellie.
So come on, Sergeant Major, how does this get-together end up?
Well, they grin their heads off at each other, and the North Korean girls come out. And they're a bit shy first, but then they get friendly.
Oh, this is the war we're missing.
Yeah. So, they're all friendly until it looks like the United Nations won't be needed to settle this war. One North Korean girl souvenirs the Argyll mortar officer's Balmoral, and everyone's laughing until a North Korean wakes up that this is, and then she's on for young and old.
That's the firing we heard back there.
That was the breakup. Soon as the first shot was fired, everything went off. Sounded like a Chinese funeral. And next thing, Sarawon is reduced by 100% in population.
They took off.
As though they'd never been there.
Where'd they head to?
That's what I'm riding up this road for. They're heading up this way.
Now, Lenny, what did I tell you?
If there's a side road between them and us, I'll lay 1,000 pounds to a pinch of used tea leaves that they'll take it.
You'd better slip down onto your knees and see if you can get some assistance in getting them to do just that.
Why?
You heard the number I mentioned? 2,000 of them.
Oh, well, now I understand what you're saying. What do we do, Sergeant Major?
Major Ferguson is down the road here a little waiting for the ration party. I'm off to warn him. I'd say the sooner you can join him, the happier the whole United Nations Army is going to be.
And me. Where is the Major, Sergeant Major?
The rendezvous for the ration party was a bit of an apple orchard not far along here.
Probably find the North Korean rations have been delivered there and our own have gone to Moscow.
Funnier things are happening in this war. Be seeing you.
Well, there's what we do. Join Major Ferguson and hope we don't join the North Koreans by mistake. Come on. Didn't get here any too soon by the sound of what I hear.
What do you hear?
Those 2,000 commos.
Changed your tune now, eh? For the past month you've been doubting there were any commos. And now just because you hear some feet on the road, you reckon it's a commo army. Why don't you be consistent?
I'll let you know later. Just at present, I'm too busy wondering what Major Ferguson's going to do about this.
Well, what's he doing?
He's just standing by his jeep there. A few of the blokes have got their own guns ready. Oh, hell, it's dark.
Yeah, she's dark.
And I wonder if these are commos. If they are, brother, are we in a spot?
You wanted fight.
And I'm not complaining, just stating fact. Any minute now. Here they are, whoever they are. Why doesn't he switch on the jeep lights?
Maybe it'd be best to keep quiet.
But they might be our own. Oh, there are the jeep lights. Hey, look. Communists. 2,000 of them. That's the answer. They must think this part of the world is lousy with Russians.
Major Ferguson is to scatter out into firing positions. He's going to ask Colonel Green for more troops.
And we'll need them.
I don't know about that, Lenny.
What do you mean you don't know? There's 2,000 of those Reds and a handful of us.
The Reds don't know much, do they? They thought we were Russians. So do they know how many of us there are?
First, you're thinking. You're churning it out like iron stuff.
Well, it stands to reason. They don't expect us. The first they know is we shine lights onto them and give them a burst of fire. Now they're lying out there in the darkness wondering how many of us there are.
Yeah, I'll go right along with that way of thinking, mate. Well, come on, let's get up closer to the command jeep. We're going to see some fun here tonight.
That's what I've been telling you.
Yeah, for 1 month, but now, tonight's the night. Hear that? That'll be Major Thirlwell and his company.
I hope so.
Well, you heard Major Ferguson say that Colonel Green was going to send Major Thirlwell along with his company and an interpreter.
Yes, I did, but to tell you the truth, the way things have been going around these parts, I'm beginning to expect anything to turn up.
Yeah, there she is. One of ours.
Yeah, one of ours. That's the point. One of our tanks and about 2,000 commos out there in the dark.
You were saying it yourself. They don't know how many of us there are. Anyway, we'll soon know. Major Ferguson was on the tank with Major Thurwell. I've got the walkie-talkie here. Just a minute. What's going on? Oh, boy, is that so?
Come on, Lenny. Let's in on it. What's doing?
Nothing, Percy boy. Only Major Ferguson and Major Thurwell are asking the commers to surrender.
Oh, I'll never get my fingers uncrossed.
How are they going now, mate? Yeah? Oh, wait till I get my own fingers crossed.
What is it now, Lenny? Come on.
The interpreter, he's talking to him. We can't understand that lingo.
What would he be saying?
Your guess is as good as mine. If it was me telling him what to say, I'd be telling those Reds we have a whole army around them here, and they'd better get their hands up while the going is good.
Yeah, but everybody can't talk like you, pal.
Wisecrack. What? Oh, this is it.
What, Lenny?
Our blokes have given them 2 minutes to lay down their arms, or our own army opens up. Our army? Oh, what great characters we are for jokes.
2 minutes.
2 minutes, and one's gone. I'd say it's time for that knee drill now. They've been bluffed, Perce. They're surrendering.
Yeah. Here they come. Walking out into the jeep lights. Look at them.
Thousands, and no fight. What a bag for one night. 1,982 prisoners, plus anti-tank guns, and a whole bag of machine guns and mortars. Oh, what a war.
And where are we moving to now?
I gave up wondering about that back at Taigoo. All I know is we're in Luke Larson's convoy, and it's as quiet
Pass
as
the word back. We're in a communist convoy. Don't panic.
Oh, no. Gilbert and Sullivan wouldn't find music to fit these words. Pass the word back, Perce. And hey, keep your voice down. Notice all of a sudden we seem to be moving between two ranks of soldiers.
Yeah. And I don't think they're ours.
I'm sure of it. This is very choice.
They're stopping in the truck ahead. What's on?
Well, I'd say they've found General MacArthur's in the pay of the Kremlin, and he's up front there posing as a North Korean dancing girl. I don't know what's on log and...
Roski! Roski!
Oh, not again!
Yeah, it's on again. He's a North Korean with red tabs on. Looks like his truck's bogged. There goes Mr. Larson. He's trying to take his pistol. She's on!
I'm gonna have a shot this time! Come on into it! Looks like most of them got away. Well, it adds a few more to the bag. But I tell you this, Perce, I could have got a few more if I hadn't had my aim shaken so much.
And what's making your aim shake?
It's all so funny, Perce. I just can't help laughing.
Those incidents happened during one of the strangest periods of the Korean War. They were not isolated incidents. They were part of the pattern of confusion following the swift advance by the United Nations armies. It was an advance so swift as to throw the enemy completely off balance, and his a retreat so fast that his front was overrunning his rear. Humorous though the incidents may appear in retrospect, at the time they happened they were fraught with danger and the possibility of sudden death.
War Correspondent, recorded by Robert Peach Productions, is presented for your entertainment by the Australian Army's Directorate of Public Relations.